Since I recently beat the new Resident Evil 9 game, I thought, why not do some drawings and animations on some of the characters in the game? So that's what I'm gonna do. So this is the plan. This rough sketch explains what I have in mind. Thanks to some references, we have Grace holding Emily's hand as they're both running away from something. Maybe I'll add a monster chasing them. So there are two boxes. Inside one of them is Emily joyfully bopping to the music that'll be playing in the background. And in the other box is Grace, who's very exhausted. So yeah, it'll be a relatively simple loop and it'll be fully digitally animated this time. So I'm excited to see how it works out. Let's go. I've just animated Grace's legs and it took me way longer than it should have. I blame it on my music playlist. Some songs you just have to pause everything and just take it in. Anyways, now that I've drawn her legs, it should be easier for me to draw Emily's running legs because I have it as a reference. I really want to avoid her and Grace to run the same way because it'll look too copy and pasted and not natural. We'll make Emily have an awkwardness to her run to indicate that she's struggling to match Grace's speed. So this is Emily's running legs. And this is what the two sets of running legs look like together. I had to cut out some of the frames from Emily's running because I drew more than necessary. Okay, now to animate the upper bodies. So this one will be challenging for me because I don't know how to go about drawing someone running while holding someone's hand. I couldn't find many references that worked for me, so I just go for a trial and error to see how things go from there. In the meantime, let's sketch Grace, our introverted main character. I'm thinking of drawing her from a bottom-up perspective. I barely draw just for the sake of drawing. I usually only draw when it's related to making traditional animations. Wait. Why is she melting? Time for our second attempt. I heard many people say that they weren't a fan of her stutter, but I don't know. To me, she's interesting. We don't really see characters like her as a protagonist. I don't like this one either. Okay, so for our third attempt, I'll draw from a different art style. I don't know what it is, but when I draw that nose from that angle, it messes up the whole thing. So I'll keep things simple. Good enough. Let's get back to Grace running. Okay, so this is what we have so far. Don't worry, I'll animate her hair later. I tried my best to have her arm moving around despite the fact that she'll be holding Emily's hand, so that the animation doesn't look too stiff. This pose looks oddly familiar. Now for Emily's running animation. I was thinking of animating Emily run separately, then jigsaw it to Grace's running animation. But after a second thought, I realised that that wasn't a great idea, because it would take way too much unnecessary effort. The idea of Emily being blind and oblivious to what's going on, whilst Grace is panicking trying to save Emily, is a funny concept to me. The jump between these two frames with regards to Emily's arms seem way too big, but it might be fine because it differentiates her run from Grace's. This is what we have so far. Now let's take a break from this animated loop and move on to the others. We'll start off with Emily bopping her head. Now the question is, do we go for semi-realism or a heavily stylized approach? I think because the animation will be in this small area, there's no point making it too realistic, so stylized we go. This will be Emily's look. Considering how I drew her and Grace running, I thought it'd be best to maintain that anime-esque aesthetic. I'm a bit fearful that she'll end up looking like Griffith from Berserk, and I really don't want that. But we'll see what happens. I've got to say, I'm a fan of Emily's character design. She's immediately recognizable with that frizzy white hair. It looks alright. A part of me thinks I could have had her head bopped side to side evenly, but it's fine. In this box area, I want Grace to come off as exhausted, not only from her anxiety in general, but also from having to protect Emily. I'm not trying to make Grace suffer. It's all meant to be wholesome at the end of the day. Okay, this is it. Now let's put the animations together. Procreate won't let me insert GIFs. Okay, so I had to use the Canva app because I expected too much from Procreate. But yeah, doesn't look too bad. I do feel like the bottom section of the canvas is a bit too empty. I need to fill that space with something. I guess the easiest thing would be to add some stars and symbols. If you look at my older shorts, you'll notice that that's something I did a lot. This is what it looks like so far. Now to add the clothing, then we can move on to the colours. It'll be easier with Grace since she isn't wearing baggy or loose clothing. But I can't say the same for Emily though. Her nightgown will be moving around a lot while she's running, so I have to keep that in mind. I'm using this clip of a character from Soul Eater. I'm not sure who, I haven't seen the anime. I'll use the character's skirt as a reference for how Emily's gown will move. So I've basically already done his skin rendering, so right now I'm just rendering his hair. And we're done. And this is with the clothes added. I was going to do a cleaner lineup, but at this point, I just couldn't be asked. For our own sanity, we have to pick and choose when to be lazy, and I'm choosing to be lazy now. Okay, let's colour. To match the overall vibe that I'm going for, which is a wholesome feel to it, I'm going to use the colours that lean towards the pastels. Okay, so the camera makes it look way more vibrant than it actually is. This is what it actually looks like. Here's Emily and exhausted Grace. Okay, so now I'm putting all these animated GIFs together, trying to replicate the rough draft. This is what we have. I wouldn't say it looks too bad, but I do think it looks simple. A lot simpler than I thought it would be. I do want to add some more animated clips to accompany this animated poster, because this alone wouldn't be enough for a short. So here's what I'm thinking. I have this more detailed animation of Grace. It's not quite done yet, but anyways, I have two options. Option 1, at the end of the animation, the last frame will be a fully detailed digital artwork of Grace. Or option 2, at the end of the animation, she kind of poofs into a simpler animation of Grace. But there's also a third option. I can do both. I'm gonna go with option 3. Side note, making this animation was no different to making this animated explosion, where the references are the key. Anyways, my way of doing option 3 is by using option 2 on Emily. Okay then, let's color the frames. We'll start off with Grace then. For this animation, simple cell shading should suffice. That's a tongue twister. Quick question, when filling in the line art, do you prefer to use the selection tool or do you prefer to freehand it and just colour it yourself? For me, if it's a digital artwork, colouring in my art's the way to go. But for animation, the selection tool saves me some time. I may colour over it to soften the hard edges, if I feel that the edges are popping out too much. In regards to Emily's transition, this is what I had in mind. Poof, and now she's in a simpler design. With the animation for Emily and Grace being done, I think it's time to fully render Grace. I'll darken the background to make the rendering easier. I'm just focusing on the shadows at the moment. I know some people say to focus on the basic shapes first, but for me, I like to go straight into the details when it comes to the shadows. The fun thing about art is, whenever you're fully immersed in creating something, it will always start to take shape before you realise, at least from my experience. I barely rendered the hair. To be fair, hair isn't something that I put much time into, because by that point, I kinda just want it to be over. And there we are. Now it's time to put all the pieces together. This is what it looks like. It feels weird, doesn't it? I think it's because the fully rendered Grace kinda ruins the tone of the short. So I resorted to this. I swapped out fully rendered Grace for simple Grace. Seems like option 2 was the right answer. So what am I going to do with this painting of Grace now? I guess I'll just post it on Pinterest or something. And by the way, in my last video, I mentioned that Pinterest marked my art as AI. Well, that's now not the case anymore. After appealing, they removed it pretty instantly. Anyways, thanks for watching to the end. My next video will probably focus on my OCs because I really don't want them to be throwaway characters. But yeah, till next time.